I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time. Welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James, and I get the honor of introducing you to women that inspire me, women that are change makers, women that have stepped into their field of passion. And so I'm thrilled that I get to do this and get to be a reminder for you that you are in a field of infinite possibilities and you get to grow and change and bring your light to the world. So we are on YouTube, iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker, any place you can find a podcast. Please subscribe, share it with your friends, and come back time and time again because I do these every week. You get to meet a new fantastic woman. So my guest today is Annette Presley. She is a registered dietitian for over 28 years, certified functional nutritionist, author, and creator of the Mommy Maker method. After discovering that the diet advice she had learned as a dietitian was actually contributing to chronic diseases, Annette changed course to learn about functional nutrition and nutrigenomics, which we will talk about, how nutrition impacts the genetic impression and expression. And now Annette helps women literally manipulate their genes so that they can say goodbye to infertility struggles and hello to being a mom. Annette, welcome. So glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I would just like to start with a little bit of your background. How did you grow up? Where did you grow up? Just so people get a sense of what your childhood was like.
Yeah, so I grew up in Pasadena, California, where the Rose Parade is. I spent the night out on the Rose Parade one night, so I had that experience. That was fun. So I actually grew up in a cult, not the gun packing sex kind, fortunately, just a really strict church. But it helped me later when I was coming out of what I call the low fat cult. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of a very similar experience. But California, I loved it. I love the beach. I love to be in water, especially the ocean, deep water. And I miss that.
So I just want to go back for a second. So religious kind of cult with strict kind of guidelines and stuff like that, right? And then did you step out of it, or how did you step out of it?
Yeah. So God actually changed it from the top down. So it was a very unusual experience, but the leadership actually changed. So we all changed. I think about a third of the congregation left and continued with the old ways. But it was a really interesting process to go through.
Yeah. But I'm hearing underneath that spirituality is important to you.
Yes, very important. Yeah.
So what led you to be a nutritionist?
I actually got interested in nutrition when I was 16. At school, we had aerobics for PE. And I loved aerobics, and I thought, I'm going to be an aerobics instructor. So I would get Shape magazine at the grocery store and read, but it was the nutrition articles that really sparked my interest. And so when I went to college, I decided I wanted to learn nutrition. I didn't know that you could actually get a job in the field, but I put it down and nobody said I couldn't. So then I found out about registered dietitians. And so I just went with it.
Right. And so you really wanted to understand how food connected with us and our bodies. And so what was the gift of that training?
So it's been really helpful in, like, if anything, I guess, starts heading south, so to speak, I have the knowledge that I can actually figure out what foods I need to eat or what supplements I need to take to kind of bring it back north again, and keep everyone healthy. So like if people get colds or any kind of illness, then I know what to give them to get them on the path to healing a whole lot faster. And so it's really been quite incredible. And it also gives me the ability to read and understand the science. So I don't have to rely on somebody telling me what is. I can actually read it myself and know whether or not they're telling me the truth.
Love that. So, so I want to ask you two parts here. First is, what is functional nutrition?
Yeah, so functional nutrition is all about finding root causes. And so we actually look at how nutrients affect the structure and function of the body. And then we can manipulate those nutrients, or add or take away or whatever we need to do to make sure that we've got the right balance so that our organs are functioning and, blood is flowing and just everything is working well.
Oh, okay. So the difference between functional nutrition and just regular nutrition is the root cause.
Yeah. So as a dietitian, we learned how to treat disease, but we really didn't learn how to prevent disease. And so functional nutrition would be more on the prevention side. It also is very helpful, if you do have disease as well, because it can reverse. We can actually reverse a lot of things. But I learned way more as a functional nutritionist than I did as a dietitian.
Okay, so it kind of partners with functional medicine.
Yes.
The same premise. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I want to know how you got into Nutrigenomics and how that led you to mommies. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I seem to always be on the cutting edge of things. I don't know how I find these things, but they just come across my radar. So back in the early 2000s, I read a book about Nutrigenomics, where it's basically about how nutrition can impact your genes. And so we can actually turn on genes that express for health and turn off genes that express for disease. So it's really cool. So a lot of people think, oh, my genetics, I can't do this because of my genes or something. But our genes are not our destiny. And they don't change, unless you live on the moon, but I'm assuming everybody is on Earth. But we can manipulate them so that the genes work in our favor instead of against us. And so it's really cool.
Okay, so tell me so if I come to you and I feel like my body's out of sync, something's not working right, or I want to have a child and it hasn't been working, what's your process?
So the first thing I have clients do is fill out a rather lengthy questionnaire, a health questionnaire. And so I even go back to when their mother was pregnant with them, because with pregnancy or fertility, you were in your mother's womb when she was a fetus in your grandmother. So fertility, you always have to look at 3 generations when it comes to fertility, because your grandmother had an impact on your genes.
Yes. Well, because the eggs are present there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting because I work with emotional integration and we talk about historical trauma,
Mm-hmm.
it's being passed down. So, okay. So you look at, the mother and the grandmother, right?
Right.
And then after they fill out the form, then what happens?
So then I also have them do a 3-day food recall, so I can kind of get an idea of what they're eating, what might be missing in the diet, that kind of thing. And then we set up an appointment and we kind of go over that and get started on the process. And so I also have people do a DNA test and like a hormone test, regular labs, thyroid, hair tissue mineral analysis. And I think some other things in there. I get all the testing that I need so I can really determine what is going on. And that usually takes 2 to 5 weeks to get those back. So once those come back, then we have another meeting and I give them the comprehensive sort of health restoration plan that I come up with based on all their lab results. And so I let them know like what foods are going to be best for them, what kind of diet, supplements, lifestyle habits, that kind of thing.
Well, that's great. So I guess I just want to talk because, you're a high service provider, and when you are dealing in these arenas, emotions can come up for people. I mean, things can come up. And so
Mm-hmm.
how do you support people in staying accountable? I mean, because they can come and they can get the information from you and you
Right.
can give them the tools, but how do you support them in staying accountable so that they can shift this old way of being?
Right. So I only have a 6-month package because it's really going to take about that long to, like with pregnancy, with getting pregnant, you really need 4 months of getting your eggs healthy. And then you can start getting pregnant because we want those eggs healthy. Otherwise, you risk miscarriage and other things like that. And so I only do 6 months. And so every week I have my clients do a progress report. So I ask questions, and some of it has to do with their emotions and, just how they're feeling about everything, because that's important. Emotions are something that affect our bodies and our organs and our functioning. I'm sure you know that. So it's a very important concept. And so I have them do that. And then we meet every other week and go over everything. And I just make sure they're staying on track. If they have any issues, we can address them right before they, fall off the cliff and have to climb all the way back up. Kind of.
Yeah, totally. So I guess I want to, when you talk about this, it feels like it's a passion for you.
It
Is that,
is,
yeah.
yes. And so I actually got into fertility. I was at church one day and God told me to go tell this girl, Sharon, that I could help her get pregnant. And I didn't know her that well. I had no idea if she was trying to get pregnant. And of course, I was thinking all about me and how stupid I would look if if she wasn't trying to get pregnant. So I put it off for about a month, but every week I got the same message. And so I finally obeyed and I went up to her and I said, if you're struggling to get pregnant, I can help you. And sure enough, they had been trying almost 2 years. And so I changed a few things in her diet, had her take a few supplements, and she was pregnant in 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, and I didn't really think anything of it then. I was homeschooling my kids at the time and wasn't really looking at, having a job or anything. But then a couple of years ago, I was on Facebook and came across a post from a woman in one of my local moms groups. And she had posted about her second failed IVF attempt, in vitro fertilization.
Yeah.
And the number of women who responded with similar stories just floored me. And some of them were on their 9th cycle. And I literally fell on the floor and cried. And so I feel like God has called me to this. And there's such a huge need for it. There's not a lot of people in this space. And I don't know anyone who's doing what I do. So.
Right. Yeah, there is a woman whose name is Jennifer Roth, and she has Birds and Bees teas, and she's an herbologist. And she has created all kinds of herbs and things like that to support women who are going through infertility. I mean, and when you were talking about on their 9th cycle, not only is it emotionally painful,
Mm-hmm.
it's extraordinarily expensive to go through every one of these cycles. And so the fact that you can offer them another way and to be supported while they go through the process is a really wonderful thing. And what's the gift it brings to you?
So it is such a joy. I mean, I'm a mom and I have 2 kids. They're like 22 and 24 now. But it was such a joy raising them. And I'll tell you one story with my daughter. She was about 5. We were playing babies and I was the big sister and she was the mom, and all the dolls, were my brothers and sisters. So in our play, it was my birthday. And so she went to the pet store to get me some more brothers and sisters. And I don't know where she got the idea that babies came from pet stores. But I mean, it's that kind of joy that I love bringing to people, because those are things that no one would ever imagine. You just would never imagine that kind of a scenario until you're experiencing it. And I just feel like anyone who wants to be a mom should have the ability to do that. And so it's truly a gift to bring life into this world, because so many things going on in our world are all about death and destruction. And it's just kind of nice to be on the other end.
Well, yeah. And to have someone who cares so deeply usher you through the process and nurture you to the fulfillment of your heart's desire.
Yeah. Yeah. And it truly is a blessing for me. I feel like it's, I can't imagine having anything else I'd love more. So.
Yeah, well, it's beautiful. And I love your passion. And I also know that learning to care for your body. I mean, anybody who knows me knows that, I used to weigh about 30 pounds more than I do now. And I come from a genetic stream of people who were overweight and died and ill and all kinds of stuff, and I had people nurture me through my process of trying to find my way back to my own health and well-being. So for you to be there to nurture people back to their health and to fulfill their heart's desire feels like such a gift, right?
It is an incredible gift. Yeah.
Right. So tell me, how do people find you and the work that you do?
So I'm on Instagram and Facebook at The Mommy Maker. And my website is getpregnantplan.com. And I always do a free consultation. So I like to make sure that I actually can help and that, you need my full services. And so I'm always happy to do that and guide you on your next steps. And that's at getpregnanteasier.com.
Okay, beautiful. So at Mommy Maker is on Instagram and Facebook. And tell me the other two again.
At The Mommy Maker, and then getpregnantplan.com and getpregnanteasier.com.
Okay, ladies, if you are in this boat or you know someone who is, go check her out, see what she's doing. You can already hear that she cares deeply. You can already hear that she has a passion for this. So I think having a consultation with someone that can guide you is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I'm here to help. So
yeah. So here's my last